Good morning. My name is Will Haughey, and together with my brother Chris, we started a company called Tegu 4 years ago now. Just to give you a quick background on ourselves, we come from a professional services background. I was working in private equity on Wall Street, and my brother Chris was active in the management consulting space. He was stationed in LA and ended up working with a number of Latin American clients. As part of that work, it took him down to Honduras, and in that process, his heart for the poor really was stirred. And so out of that came an email to me one day. I'm sitting on Wall Street working on a trading desk, and it was, hey, Will, what about the idea of starting a toy company, or I should say a for-profit business in Honduras that could use its profit to create social change? And that is Tegu, and that's as simple as it was when it started, and we're excited to present it today. So first of all, what are we? Basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to become the world's most innovative premium toy company. And what that means is it's about design and invention, and ultimately about products that resonate with consumers, not only in the United States, but all over the world. One of the things that we found really interesting in our time of evaluating what kind of business could we start in Honduras to really have social change, we realized they had a tremendous supply of hardwoods, and we felt that they were dramatically underutilized. So as a result, we started thinking about what could you do with wood. And on a trip to Germany in 2006, we were inspired to take a look at the wooden toy space. And although it may sound old, antiquated, and maybe slightly boring, what we realized that presented an opportunity for us, which was if we could provide opportunities for innovation in something that was tired and boring and maybe had been done for hundreds of years but not that well, then we could actually create market share for ourselves. Just one thing on that slide really quickly. The toy industry is large. It's a $70 billion industry globally. 25 billion of that is in the States. We're attacking the traditional toy market, which is basically anything non-electronic. And as you'll see, what we're trying to do is attack it in a way that's thoughtful and careful and sustainable, but also driven by high design. So what is Tegu? Tegu is a very simple concept, really. We took wooden blocks, the familiar warmth and tactile play of manipulating this type of product, and we inserted the world's strongest magnets. It may sound very simple. Both the process of product development and incubating the concept and the invention, and also scaling the manufacturing has actually been very challenging, and we can talk more about that later. So what do we have? We basically have what we call Tegu blocks, what the market now calls Tegu blocks. It's its own category. It's a block with magnets inside, invisibly embedded, and it comes in different shapes and sizes and colors. And so you can buy your kit set, you can grow your kit sets, you can grow your collection, and they all work interchangeably. So just to give you a sense of kind of where we are, as I mentioned before, this idea really started in 2006. However, over the course of the last 4 years, really the incubation has been occurring. And so the way that I would sort of typify our history thus far is we've come through 4 years of pain, a lot of pain. And that was pain on the product development side. This was one of 5 concepts we considered. Pain on the side of starting a manufacturing facility from scratch in Honduras in 2009. Pain of just leaving good paying jobs. You know, that was a difficult decision. But we are excited to have come to sort of the point that we're at, and I think really, Chris, if you can just advance the slide, you know, really where we are is we've come through the proof of concept phase, and we've entered a phase of basically hyper growth. And when I say we've come through the proof of concept phase, whether you define it as last holiday season or today, you know, we've sold roughly 25,000 units. We have distribution all throughout the United States, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And what we're finding is that the product, the brand, the priorities, the story, it resonates with the consumer. So just to kind of drive this point home really quickly, the toys stand on their own, and this is a really important point to make. The toys aren't selling because we care about Honduras. The toys are selling because when they are reviewed by retailers, when they are reviewed by critics within the industry, they win awards. And what does that mean? What it means is the consumer doesn't need to know a thing about what we're doing in Honduras. They can walk into a store, see it next to their favorite other toys, look at it, pick up the box, and realize, hey, I want to get this anyway. I like this product. And then hopefully over time, they do fall in love with the story as we tell that well. It's important to mention the media coverage we're getting is, it comes to us regularly. A huge part of that is that there is a story behind the company. So yes, okay, we've reinvented the wooden block, as we like to say, but at the same time, we are in the process of igniting a social change in a very poor nation. So what that means is when we do talk to the media, it's a pretty interesting and intriguing story to pitch. Just really quickly, this is just a quick map to show you kind of where we're represented in retail. We started selling into the retail base last August. We were approached by Pottery Barn Kids very early in our life cycle, thankfully. And as part of opening up in their stores last holiday, we also opened ourselves to the trade show market and the retailer base. And as a result, that market, that side of our business is really kind of exploding. And I say that because basically in about 8 months we picked up about 400 retailers, and we are contacted daily about distribution in various channels. One thing to mention really quickly is our particular strong channel happens to be premium mass. That's basically where we do really well. So these are customers who, they like nice things, they like quality goods, they like things that are going to last, and they shop at places where those goods are curated. So if you look at the Museum Modern Art store where we sell one of our products, we're one of the best-selling kids items, and we do sell at a premium there to other locales in the marketplace. And one of the reasons it works is that customers going into those types of stores already have the mindset that they want something well-designed, high quality, and resonates with them as a consumer. So we're excited about this. You know, we were surprised when we got picked up by the Wynn Hotels, but the product is very well there, and the list goes on and on. That was the retail side of the business where we sell through other businesses. But really, we're as excited, if not more excited, about our direct-to-consumer activities. Because we have a story behind the company, we can tell that story. Because we can use things like social media and everything else, we can reach people very quickly. So when we initially launched in 2009, it was Tegu.com only. You couldn't get the product anywhere else. We sold out the first holiday season. We had a hard time making the product at the time, so we had a very short supply. Since then, we've broadened out online, and we've done very, very well in places like Amazon. And then I wanted to highlight really quickly a case study on something that happened about a month ago. Gilt Group is a flash sale site. Some of you may be familiar with it. Basically what they do, they curate high-end goods, they make them available for short windows of time, and during that period of time, you can get the product at a discount. So what they're trying to do is create a buying frenzy. So essentially, you move quickly and convert to sale. Typically, the sales last about 3 days. On the third day, they called us and said, this is one of the best-selling kids activities we've ever had. Can we extend the sale? We extended the sale through here. They were surprised by these numbers, and as a result, as you kept going, they kept asking us to extend the sale. So it was one of those interesting experiences for us where we realized, hey, if we can actually find our customer, the high-end, the quality, the durability, the design-focused customer with disposable income, they will buy our product. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Chris to take it from there.
Thanks, Will. We've started, as Will mentioned, with this really exciting magnetic wooden block concept, and it's been our first foray into the market and done exceptionally well. But our ambition goes well beyond it. As we think about our target customer, we're talking about kids right now, primarily ages 3 to 7, and we're also talking about how do we make products that are attractive to their parents. A lot of times, the mom is the primary buyer. And we are ambitious to expand into the playroom. If you think about a child's bedroom, you've got furniture, you've got storage, you've got toys, clothing as well. We're not really looking at clothing right now. But our ambition is that why can't those other items be Tegu branded as well? So just a quick mention of kind of where we're headed. Really, the possibilities are endless for the innovation engine that we are creating. And that's the key point. It's not about one particular winning product concept. We started, for instance, with this concept in a kindergarten classroom. These are the first sketches and prototypes and CAD drawings that were ever made of it. But that's just the beginning. We are continuing to repeat that innovation cycle as we go. And we're super excited in the near term to launch kind of the next expansion of the magnetic block portfolio, and then just keep going from there. This is one of the most exciting things we have coming out in the short term. Should be launched holiday of this year, what we're calling Tegu Mobility. So in addition to the kind of, as I mentioned, this innovation engine, what else is Tegu about? Well, that's the kind of motor in the car, but where's the car going? The car is going towards outsized social impact in Honduras. And what we're doing along the way is we're inviting our customer to participate in that impact. And primarily what that means for us is we're contributing to reforestation in Honduras, we're contributing to education of low-income communities, and we're creating jobs through our factory directly. Just a quick word on job creation. We consider this to be kind of one of our main foci, and it's not just the direct employees that actually come to work each day at the Tegu factory. There's an outsized impact. As you can see, the 49 employees we currently have translates into over 200 lives affected, of which about 60 are students. So there's an indirect impact on education through employment as well. Super critical to our business. We are a vertically integrated business. We've deliberately chosen to do that to achieve the kind of impact in Honduras we want to see. And it's important to mention that we're not just satisfied with just making the toys. We really want, we see an opportunity for Tegu to be a world-class facility in Honduras and eventually to help spur development and technology and innovation in the region. Right now we have the most advanced wood processing facility, solid wood processing facility in Central America, which is exciting, and we're moving towards lean manufacturing implementation so that we can become even better at what we do, costs can improve, margins can improve, and so forth. So what does that translate into in numbers? Will mentioned the brief history of the company. We have a couple years now of operating experience. As you can see, our first year in the market, 2009, we really got into the market right before the holiday season and just had a short selling window. Last year was a significant increase in sales. We're not profitable, but we're moving strongly towards profitability. And as you can see on this next slide, we are projecting strong growth over the next few years, both in sales and then reaching towards break-even from a profitability standpoint in the next 18 to 24 months. So it's an exciting time for Tegu. We are pushing hard, and we are on track, for instance, for these 2011 numbers of roughly 2 million in sales, piggybacking off of last year's. As you can see at the bottom, there's a growth trajectory, of course, as well, in creating jobs. And what do we need to do to fund and to fuel that growth? Essentially, we are looking at the moment to raise $3 million in growth equity. We've historically raised about $3 million to date, so this injection of capital used in different ways is going to allow us to hit those numbers and going to allow us to achieve the vision and the goals that we have for ourselves. Roughly speaking, we're talking about a little over $1 million in investment in the plant. We need to invest in working capital. The materials we use are expensive. The lead times are sort of medium to long, and that's an important aspect of being able to hit those production numbers and therefore the sales numbers we're going after. And finally, on the OpEx side of things, what we're really talking about here is expansion within our current market, which would be the US and Canada, as well as looking at global expansion. We're just about to launch in Europe. We hope to be in Asia next year, and so forth. So we're inviting investors to consider participation in what is a Series B round of about $3 million. Finally, we're excited about the future. This is a quick snapshot taken this past Sunday. Will and I got a chance to play with the Tegu soccer team, which was a lot of fun. We didn't win, but we caused quite a stir. We caused quite a stir as the two gringos on the field. So we're excited about what's going on at Tegu and what the future holds for Tegu, and we invite anybody who wants to join us to come along for the ride. Thanks.
I'm sure I speak for Chris and Will also, inviting any of you who want to actually play with the toys. They're right outside, and you guys can see them firsthand. So we have time for questions.
Yeah, I just have a question. I own a restaurant in Honduras, in San Pedro Sula. We've been there about 10 years. And prior to that, I have worked in the hotel business there for about 20. In my restaurant, we employ about 35 people. We're right across the street from a very poor neighborhood, and all our employees come from there. We do a lot of community service. We have contributed all sorts of things. Beyond that, we do quote-unquote good works. We've helped AIDS hospices. We've done quite a bit. So I guess my question is, are we an impact company? What is the difference between what I'm doing and what you're doing?
Sounds like you're doing some pretty good stuff, which is great. I would say absolutely. And I think the main consideration is what's the context of your business. The context is in San Pedro Sula, just as it is in Tegucigalpa, that there's 30+% unemployment. So by running a business that provides jobs, your restaurant is essentially contributing to one of the main social impacts that you possibly could have. Are you an impact company? Yes. Are we an impact company? Yes. But there, as we all know, there are shades of gray, right? And there's the quality of that impact. Our vision with Tegu is not just to provide jobs, but to contribute to development and innovation in manufacturing in Honduras and by extension the region. To become the employer of choice in Honduras, as Will just mentioned, our ambition as we grow is that we have people flocking to come and join Tegu because they know that it's a place where they're going to grow as people. It's a place where they're going to have real upward mobility opportunities, both within the company and by extension in their socioeconomic status. And it's a place where they're going to be challenged and form part of something bigger than themselves. So that is the vision. I think we have started to implement that, but we, of course, have a long way to go. It's very early days for us.
Questions?
So you just talked about the social impact. I bet you all also have an environmental impact. Could you get into depth in that?
Sure, we do. We are very concerned about our environmental impact as a company. The primary form that takes is not actually reforestation, although we contribute to reforestation. It's how do we source the hardwoods in the first place? And we are working with sustainable forestry initiatives in Honduras as well as within Central America. Basically, what that means is selective harvesting when we're talking about native forest. And it also means, in some cases, plantation harvesting. So harvesting from plantations set up for timber and lumber creation. And for instance, the cooperatives we work with in Honduras are certified by an international organization called the Forest Stewardship Council, which goes in and audits essentially their supply chain, their value chain, to make sure that they are doing things in a manner that will preserve the forest for future generations. So that's how we source the wood. Through our customers purchasing, as we saw in the deck, we're also contributing to reforestation. And our conservative estimate is that, roughly speaking, we're planting about 100 seedlings for every one mature tree that we harvest for our toys. And that's exceedingly important to us.
More questions?
I was wondering if you could tell us how much of the projected growth is based on kind of the toys and logical extensions of the toys versus going into some significantly different products within the playroom.
I would say that we know companies such as ours in other geographic regions who have reached kind of the $10 million revenue mark with a portfolio of, let's say, 20 to 30 products, but they're selling them globally, so they have global distribution. So ultimately, I think that it's a combination of the two, but essentially the way that we're thinking about it is we are aggressively expanding into all channels that we can, from a bandwidth perspective, manage. So deepening our depth on the direct-to-consumer side in the States, deepening our retail touch point. I mean, we think we're probably, of the specialty toy market in the States, maybe 10% at this point penetrated. And then additionally, we showed at the Nuremberg Toy Fair, which is the largest in the world, earlier this year. And one of the coolest things about the product, and it would be similar for other types of traditional products, is that they translate borders instantly. You put them in their hands, and you don't need language, you don't need explanation, you just need to start picking them up. So as a result, I think that we're going to deepen and grow the channels, and that will provide a significant portion of the growth that we have projected. But we also think that within those channels and within those established areas of development, the natural next evolution of our product is going to just afford us more market space within those channels. So it's channel development and it's product development. And I think that we're pretty much ambivalent as to which products sell where. All we care about is that we're finding the right product for the right customer at the right time in the right location that's accretive to our brand. And I think that if we can do that, whether it's a car or a set of blocks or a play table, and whether it's in Poland or Russia or the United States, we're relatively ambivalent as long as we can do it in a thoughtful way. So.
Just to piggyback on the question about channel and distribution growth, do you guys advertise at all right now? And if not, is that necessary in growing your channel presence, or do you feel like just the physical store presence or online presence is going to be sufficient in the short term for your growth goals?
We are projecting a fair amount of spend on the advertising side. I mean, we are a consumer brand. I don't think we're going to take out a full-page article or advertisement in the New York Times, but at the same time, our primary drivers of growth so far have been trade shows in terms of the retail distribution base, and online we've invested in PR. So ultimately, the PR wins that we've had have taken time, effort, and investment, and then additionally, the growth that we've seen in the retail base has been a direct function of the 6 trade shows that we've attended.
Good presentation. I saw the video last night, and it talked about the schooling and children in the dump. Can you describe more? And now you're actually talking also about the reforestation. What program do you have to, or what programs to actually go through with this process?
Sure. We partner with 2 nonprofits. One is called Trees for the Future. It's a U.S.-based organization that has operations in the developing world, and specifically carries out reforestation projects, tree planting in different countries around the world. We earmark essentially the donations that we provide to them for Honduras projects because that's one of the countries they operate in. So that's on the reforestation side. We don't yet have Tegu employees going and planting trees, although I think periodically in the future we will, once a quarter or something, we'll be taking the factory out to a site and doing that sort of thing. On the education side, we are partnering with one specific school at the moment, and it's a school that I've had a connection with since I first went to Honduras 7 years ago, that is helping kids come off the trash dump. So right now they have about 200 children, and when they first started they just met right on the trash dump site, and now they have, because of the support of a number of different organizations, they have some beautiful school buildings about half a mile from where the trash dump is. And what we are working with them on is essentially helping to take over more and more of their operating budget over time, and relieve their dependence on other donors. Where we'd love to get to eventually is we'd love for Tegu to be fully funding that school, and then in addition continue to seek out other highly impactful schools around Honduras of the same nature. They may or may not be tied to trash dump communities. That's not the point necessarily. But in this case, we've selected the one that we know is creating an incredible impact on lives that would otherwise be really have little hope for the future. So we've worked with them to calculate how much does it cost to send a kid to their school for a day, and that's how we run the essentially what is a periodic donation based on our sales.
Just going to mention one thing on that. I mean, I think that ultimately one of the things that Chris and I are probably most proud of is the fact that the market is facilitating that donation. So whether it's days funded for the kids or trees planted, it only exists because we have toys, you know. And I think that ultimately that particular characteristic of our business model is something that suggests that the potential for impact in areas where the market can't directly address it, like the schools in this case, is significant. So as we deepen the channel and grow the product base and everything else, the opportunity to actually just in the background channel that to more days funded, more kids off the trash dump, more schools funded, et cetera, is a really powerful thing. So just think about it as design and marketing harnessing consumption in the developed world, and in the background a series of events sort of in process to support real and significant philanthropic needs on the developed world side.
And just I want to ask a really short question also. And so I saw one of your slides, it seems like the customer has the opportunity to choose between. Can you explain that? How does that happen?
Sure. So when you purchase on the website, when we first launched the website, literally you would add to cart your product, and then it would say, hey, by the way, as part of your purchase, we're going to give you the option for Tegu to make a donation on your behalf. And since then, we moved to a different format where when you purchase through our website, 7 days later or so, we sort of roughly timed it to the point at which you would receive the product. You get a second email which says, hey, there's more. Your purchase was great, and we appreciate it very much, but at the same time, if you also want to contribute, Tegu is willing to do that on your behalf in honor of your purchase. You know, please let us know how you'd like to do it. The other thing that's been kind of fun, and we just did this as a social experiment, we put up a month of school for sale on the website. We put up you know, bundles of trees for sale on the website. And it's always interesting to see a guy log on from Sweden and purchase, you know, a month of school for kids, you know, in Honduras, not buying the toys, not paying through the nose for shipping to get the product to himself, but just sitting there and saying, you know, I like the nature of what's going on here and I want to support it. So it's purchased outright and directly, and then it's also just a function of the purchase with the consumer.
I was just wanted to ask a question with regards to the toy industry and how, I guess, how quickly you see copycats. I know in Asia there are companies that specialize, it's their skill set to see what's trending. They'll come up with copycat golf clubs and tennis shoes, and comes out pretty quickly. So I'm kind of curious, competition from that area and then competition from the established American players. You know, once they see something like this catching hold, how you see yourselves protecting your product there?
I think ultimately there's sort of two main opportunities for protection. I'll mention one quickly that's not part of my two. We have a patent pending on the process of development. So we've developed a unique process for what we do for making this product, and it's pending, and we'll see what happens. You know, that might be helpful. More importantly is our brand is our greatest protection, right? Ultimately, when you're in the MoMA store, when you're in Nordstrom, when you're in Neiman's, when you're on Gilt, they're not sitting there, the consumer is not saying, I want the lowest price. The consumer is saying, I want the best product. This is for my child. This is for my nephew. So we are trailblazing in that regard, and there's nobody's getting out in front of our brand and out Teguing Tegu in that regard. We are who we are, and people either like it or they don't like it. On the flip side, what we're also finding is that, you know, and we've recruited former head of Boys Toys Development at Mattel to our advisory board, and his advice to us was, yeah, they'll copy you, but they're going to copy what you did, not what you're doing. In other words, as the portfolio of products diversifies, they have no idea what's in our pipeline, and unless they're online on live stream right now, fiddling away in China, thank you, Agora. You know, then ultimately, and even if they ripped off every single item that we showed today, like we would have, you know, a handful more next week. So I think that ultimately, what Tegu stands for is going to be what wins in terms of the competition, and we see it every day in the products that we prefer over the products that are available to us at a lower price.
Yeah, It's just, I wanted to know, do you ship by air? Because I was trying to make some magnets and I could not ship them by air. That's why I'm not doing it, because everything I ship, it's by air.
You mean in terms of shipping from, in your case, Guatemala to the U.S. or somewhere? Yeah, you can definitely ship magnets by air. Yeah, if that's your question, you just have to provide the right documentation for them. They're not a hazardous material. We've had certain cargo airlines cause a fuss, but eventually we've always been able to get to resolution on that. And we ship, for instance, FedEx Courier. We ship our products from our distribution warehouse. If somebody wants it next day or second day, we absolutely ship them that way. It's the type of the magnet, and if you like, I can point you to some documentation afterwards that can help you.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause.